All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our HEI showcase. Super excited to have Gaston Lopez here from University of Michigan Ann Arbor to tell us all about the amazing institution and what opportunities they have available to our Nigerian audience. So welcome and over to you, Gaston.
All right. Thank you very much for the introduction there. It looks like I just had a quick I'm gonna go quickly pause for a second. My slide just to say that we're really glad to have you all here. My name is Gaston Lopez. I work with students applying from Nigeria and other parts of Sub-Saharan Africa to the University of Michigan Ann Arbor here in lovely Ann Arbor, where it's a little bit under 0 Celsius, but it's actually not it's not that bad. I always tell students you've got as long as you're with friends and you've got layers on, it's always good to be here, and it's actually more fun than you think. I actually am changing in my screen here because looks like I put in the wrong slide in there. But anyway, there we go. Okay, and now we have the correct one. So I'll go ahead and get started. Okay, making sure that that's actually showing. There we go. Okay, so I wanted to get started just noting, it's important for us to acknowledge our history because the University of Michigan is located in the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people. In 1817, the Ojibwe, Ottawa, and Potawatomi nations, indigenous to our area, made the largest single land transfer to university, which was given ceremonially as a gift, so that their children could be educated. And through these words of acknowledgement, we will acknowledge, right, the history of displacement that allowed the university to be founded, and now today, the contemporary and ancestral ties of the Anishinaabe to the land and their profound contributions to the institution are renewed and reaffirmed. It's just one of many ways here. We're just continuing to work on making sure that university is a place where all students, faculty, staff, and members of the community are welcome, and that we honor all experiences and stories, no matter where folks are coming in from. And it's a large part of our culture because we want to make sure everyone's welcome, especially in such a town like we live in Ann Arbor, which I have to say is one of the best places to study at a university in the United States. I've lived in other college towns, but there's nothing like it here because you've got options. Maybe you want to find out some new restaurant options. We've got 300 different restaurants to choose from. Maybe you want to go outside, even when it's colder out. There's lots of different public parks and spaces to go available. It's also easy to get around, whether you want to walk, take a bicycle, or take our public transit, which is free for all of our students, faculty, and staff. And we're easily connected to the world, being just about 30 minutes away from Detroit Metro International Airport, which has lots of different flights from many parts of the world directly. Um, I will also note too that I think about our neighborhood here in the university, we have students from about 100 plus different countries and an undergraduate population of about 33,000 students. So I like to think of it this way: we bring the whole world to Ann Arbor. Students from all over know that we're one of the leaders and best in education, and especially being one of the top public universities in the nation. And what makes our program strong is that we have 280 plus majors for you to choose from. So you have so many options to choose when it comes to your course of study, and to even explore different types of fields, and even take different classes you didn't know you like. And even with a big institution like ours, being a large state-funded institution, we still have a lot of staff and faculty support such that we keep it possible for you to have lots of close relationships with your faculty and peers. In addition to that 51 student to faculty ratio, about 84% of classes will have less than 50 students. So you'll tend to have very few classes that have like more than 100 students. It'll usually be more on that smaller scale. That way you can really get help or get ahead as you need to. And that's on top of so much other academic support, ranging from a writing center for working on those essays for classes, or getting help for physics and math homework, and even academic advising and other academic success supports as well. We're also one of the top universities in the United States when it comes to research. I think we just had about $1.8 billion in research funding that has been spent. And students, even in their first or second years in undergraduate study, can get involved, especially through our undergraduate research opportunities program. They work with a professor at the top of their field, gain some experience, and it really helps them you know, get to know more about what it takes to make new knowledge happen. And that's something we're really excited to get students started in. When you apply to Michigan, there are 10 schools and colleges you can apply directly for admission. So I'm just going to note them quickly here. Many folks interested in the many science fields, social sciences, or humanities or languages, they would go to the College of Literature, Science, and Arts. That's our largest and oldest college right here on the top left of the screen. And for some folks who may be interested in engineering, we have a dedicated College of Engineering as well. Now, if you want to study computer science, you can actually do it both through either LSA or engineering. Just depends on what kind of academic experience you want. We also have a renowned School of Business, one of the top 5 business schools in the nation, with a Bachelor of Business Administration. We have some health-focused schools and colleges, such as the School of Nursing, the School of Kinesiology being the study of the human body motion, and the College of Pharmacy. The Marshall here means the Marshall Family School of Education. So if you want to go into teaching primary, secondary education, that this is a destination for you. And we also have some talent-based programs focusing on architecture and urban planning, art and design, and the School of Music, Theater, and Dance, or SMTD. There are also some options to apply dually to some of these talent-based schools or programs as well. Now, one of the big things I get asked often is, how do we get considered? Because we had about 109,000 students apply from all around the world last year, and we're probably going to have a similar number this year once we finalize things. But what I really want to emphasize here with Michigan is that we're going to be selective just because we have so many qualified students, more than the space we have available. That being said, we want to understand you fully as a person. We know you have lives outside of classes and have lots of ways you're connected with other people and are involved. And we want to see what kind of contributions you're going to make to our campus community. So we are looking at applications holistically. That means we're going to look at every part that you submit, and every part's going to be important because we want to see, not just you being academically ready, but also, ready to be a part of the bigger Michigan community. Looking at here, this list of application, a lot of the information we have is available on our website, but I'm just going to note 2 big things here. First, you will apply to Michigan through the common application. And the second thing I'll note here is that we have the application fee over here of US $75. I'll note that for students who are not permanent residents or US citizens, you will need to pay the application fee, as we do not have waivers available for most international applicants. Now, when we look at your application, of course, there's academic portions we want to look at. So we will look at your grades. Specifically, we want to look at the transcripts of what you've done from years 9 through 11. So that would be important for us to see. That way we can see how you've grown as a student and how you're ready for the rigor at Michigan. We also want to consider this contextually as well. So if you're still currently in school, you can apply during your year 12. You can apply as early as the middle of year 12 for consideration. And we'll consider your grades in the context of where you go to school. So we'll have your school also submit to us any information about your school. That way we can think about it, knowing that every school is going to be different. And we're also aware of different curriculum in all different parts of the world, right? We also have students who have applied and are here on campus who have gone through the national curriculum, have completed their NEC or WASI. If you've already finished senior secondary, it's important for you to not only submit your internal transcripts, but also submit your WASI results so that we are able to take them into consideration as well. Because that is, in general, I like to say that, if whatever you need to go into university in your home country, we'll want to see that too. We want to see that you've challenged yourself. So in the end, make sure that you're checking on our website, depending on which school or college you're applying to, the different course requirements. We want to make sure that you're ready for that specific course of study, especially for those going to things like engineering or business. So make sure that you view that available on our website. But, as long as you're taking advantage of what's available to you at your school, that's going to show us that you're ready for that rigor, whether you're in a national curriculum or whether you're in another school that has an international curriculum. Uh, and we are test optional. Like if you're applying later on, I'd say check back with us when it's your time to apply, especially if you're not yet in year 12 or senior secondary third. Um, but if you do decide to submit a score, please know it's optional. You can self-report it. You don't have to submit your official scores until after you're admitted. And there's no one score that's going to determine admission. We're not looking for a specific score. Again, in a holistic process, we're looking at everything together. In general, if English is not your first language, or if it's a secondary language, you would be expected to submit a language proficiency exam result. So check information on our website for accepted ranges and exemptions. But if you have English as your one of the first languages you've learned, you don't have to submit that proficiency. We'll still consider the application, of course. But again, this is for only those who have English as a secondary language. Now, again, in a holistic process, we're looking at all the different parts about you and what you do outside of school. So in the common application, you can list up to 10 different activities. And I really encourage you to make sure you're sharing with us, what you do. And that doesn't have to be just like clubs or sports that I know a lot of students in the US would do. Sometimes if you do part-time work or if you're involved with church, that counts. Or if you're involved in masjid, that counts too. And there's now a section 2 in the Common App that lets you list any family responsibilities, knowing that maybe there's some things going on at home that might affect your ability to be involved outside of school. We want to see how you're using your time, and we want you to share that information with us. That way we are able to take that in consideration. At Michigan, we only need one letter of recommendation. And so I always recommend students to make sure you ask the classroom teacher who can speak strongly of your qualities inside and outside the classroom to write on your behalf. And make sure to ask them early in advance so that way they have the time to make a quality letter of recommendation. And the essays, I think, are something I look forward to personally because they're the only part we get to hear directly from the student, as opposed to everything else in the application. So I think essays, they can be a little anxiety inducing, but I always say, take this as an opportunity for you to share your story with us. Help us get to know you like we're talking with you. And with essays, we have actually 3 of them we'll consider. There is the common application statement you're going to submit to all the schools that require it. That includes us. And then we have 2 supplemental essays. One that talks about your leadership, how you challenge the present and enrich the future, and another one about your interest in Michigan. And so we encourage you to be specific as you share about interest. What aspects about Michigan, whether it's academically or socially, are going to help you get to where you want to be after graduating, right? How is it going to help you meet your goals and your aspirations? We want you to be specific about that. I'm going to skip over ahead from the timeline here and just to note that we do have 3 different ways for you to consider your be applied, whether that's through early decision, early action, or regular decision. Regardless of when, the deadline and then which of these plans you apply through, we're going to give you that same consideration with the same holistic review process. And just to be upfront here, I know that with attending university, it is always an investment in your education in your future. We do want you to at least be aware of these costs for our students. Being a state-funded institution here in the United States, we are not able to provide federal or state financial aid. And on top of that, merit-based scholarships, while they are available, it's going to be limited. So we will expect that international applicants typically will need to cover the full cost of attendance when they apply here. Now, for students who end up being Wolverines and they come here to campus, we do want that this is a place where you can get a lot of connections and likely through housing. For the first year, it's not required to live on campus, but it is something we prioritize for those incoming first-year students. Vast majority of students take us up on that opportunity. That way, they're able to live in the residence halls, meet other people, build their community, and especially do so in such a safe environment. Here, all of our campus housing, they're all close to each other within the city of Ann Arbor and our campus. There's lots of different ways for students to also be safe because we have our own Department of Public Safety and Security that often are around campus, and we even have the different blue light stations where students are able to, if they need any assistance, they can quickly get help from our campus security detail. Now, students also find connections as well through organizations. We've got 1,700 of them and counting. So one great way to get involved is to go to the event called Festival at the beginning of the academic year, when students are going to go to a fair outside with tables where students can connect with different organizations, ranging from anything from, things like skincare or backpacking or K-pop or even other organizations that are tied to different professions. I've even heard there's a squirrel club. They're the unofficial mascot of campus, so apparently people like to feed the squirrels. I'm not a squirrel person myself, but whatever you are interested in, we likely have it here on our campus. And even including cultural organizations, I know, for example, the African Student Association is one of our major cultural organizations here on our campus. I know they put on like a gala or type of gala or show, I think every year, including what I think it might be a fashion show as well. And we're well known for our Division One NCAA athletics with 59 national championships and counting, including one football championship in 2023, Go Blue. Just so you know, like if you like sports, Michigan's a great place to go out and enjoy and go out with other people to watch it. If you're not into sports or you're not sure, they always say, go give it a try. Go out with friends. It's a really great way to spend time with other people, just going out to see games. Most games, in fact, are free. And even for ones that have tickets like men's basketball, men's hockey, and football, they're really great affordable tickets for those for our students. And even if you don't like sports in the end, if you tried it, it's okay too. There's so many different ways to be a Michigan student. It doesn't just have to be going out to sports, but one of the great things about our culture is that you have lots of options to be able to go out with other people and just enjoy time, especially with supporting our Wolverines. And after you graduate from Michigan, you're going to be part of one of the largest living alumni networks in the world, including many of the people you see here on this screen. Uh, right, people around the world know a Michigan degree, and that people have even heard from even being in places as far away in China where they're even being greeted "Go Blue." Um, I personally like to note too that in many cases, sometimes that your next opportunity professionally, maybe the internship or job you might get, might be through a connection at Michigan. And so we use our alumni network to be able to help our students, whether it's to learn more about different careers or get connected to different opportunities after graduating. And that's something that I think a lot of our students are able to take advantage of here as students and then moving forward from there. Just to wrap things up here, before we get to questions, more information is on our website, including my contact information. Um, I work again with students applying from all Nigeria, so if there's any questions at all, please feel free to reach out, and I'll be more than happy to make sure to get you on the right path. We also have other resources on our website, and you can stay connected with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter/X. Uh, all right, I'll go ahead and open this up to your questions.
Thank you so much, Gaston, for that really great presentation. While I give people time to drop in their questions, I just had maybe a silly question to ask. In the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned about 300 restaurants. I just wanted to know what percentage of them have you visited or have you tried?
Oh my gosh, I'd say it might be like 10 or 15%. Um,
Oh,
I'd say part of it might be because my wife is picky and I can't go to all of them. Or so some of them I'll have to visit by myself. But then for other things like I know that what I personally have enjoyed, there are there's been like I'm trying to remember like what I've enjoyed. There's like one place that does like barbecue, but served in a rice bowl and with like a sweet soy sauce like flavor. That's one restaurant I really love going to. There are some restaurants here that they have baked goods. I like pastry now since I've lived here. There's a famous one. There's a new one that opened up recently here that's within walking distance that I've seen. I think it's sort of like a Korean and Japanese style baking. There's just a lot of many more things to discover. I've even heard of things like kimchi fries from another
Hmm.
place, and then sorry, it seems like I'm gravitating over to one particular place. Um, but yeah, I know there's a lot more left I need to discover. For example, I know there's like an Ethiopian restaurant that's like about 5 minutes walking from here that I still haven't been. It's like a fine dining one. Like, oh, I want to go there.
So weekend plans, definitely.
Yes.
So in your presentation, you mentioned English proficiency exam, and you mentioned quite a number. I'm just wondering, do you also, I didn't see Duolingo on the list. I'm just curious if you also accept Duolingo or it's not accepted at this moment.
At this time, we are not accepting the Duolingo English test. We did accept it at one point in the past. I believe right now, we've just removed it for the moment. That
Okay.
being said, again, I will note here, like if English is something you you grew up with and it's already your first language at home, you don't have to submit an English proficiency exam. I know that with many students that's perfectly that's normal.
Mhm.
If it's not, right, you can still apply without an English proficiency exam. I just know that our most highly qualified applicants are able to show that are able to show that evidence if they if they're able to if they if English is not their second is not their first language. That being said, too, there is the exemption of like having of being able to use a SAT or ACT result if you decide to submit that. I know it's test optional, but if you are able to, if you want to submit that to satisfy that exemption, that's possible. There's some more information about this on our website, but I know there is that exemption available using those scores.
Okay. So I know you already mentioned that you have a holistic admissions approach, but for international students coming from uni exam-focused systems like WIAC, NECO, Nigerian high school, secondary school system is very exam-focused. What academic qualities does Michigan look or value the most beyond looking at grades?
Beyond grades, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, right, we want to see that you've challenged the curriculum that's available to you, right? So take taking advantage of like what's rigorous, what's most rigorous. So, for example, like I'm thinking, like for our this is it's going to vary differently based on which school or college you're going to, but I'm going to think of engineering, for example. So for engineering, right, we'll expect that students need to have taken science, 4 years of science, 3 years of, sorry, 3 years of science, 4 years of math. Um, it can be helpful for our students, make sure they're challenging themselves beyond just the regular math if they're taking further mathematics, right? In addition to the standard mathematics course that they might be sitting for the WIAC. That is something that can be helpful for us to see that you're challenging yourself further, because I know that the further mathematics can be optional depending on which route you're taking. But if you're thinking about going to engineering and you're trying to focus on those different types of STEM classes, that's something that can be helpful for us to help support that you're taking advantage of the courses that you have available and that you're making the most of the curriculum. We also do want to see that you have when looking at transcripts, all right, the internal markings from your year-to-year classes. Growth is something important to see. So we're not looking for perfection. We do want to see that you've made progress. For example, like students who may show like they may have had maybe somewhat lower grades, but then they show improvement by the time they're in year 11 or by senior secondary two. That really shows that they're growing as a student, and that's something that we do value, and that can be viewed positively in our process. And then even with test scores, so the thing with test scores is that if you decide to submit them, there's no, while I showed earlier, there's that middle 50th percentile. We've admitted students who are outside of that percentile, just knowing that they're providing more to what they have to offer more than just their scores. And scores are just like one among the many different things we're kind of looking at. So I would say if your scores are outside of that, don't, you feel free to have a talk with someone, maybe even someone at the American Center to see, or, how your scores might do compared to what may be normal against other students from the area or region. But I know that it's okay if you don't submit one either, right? Because we're gonna then also then rely more on just like the grades and coursework to see that you have challenged yourself.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for that response. So, even though the session, I know for those attendees in the house, the session is very undergrad focused, and I know we have quite a number of students here who are asking questions in the Q&A and the chat for
Hmm.
information about like graduate studies. Could
Hmm.
you just maybe talk briefly about that, where they could get more information if they're interested in graduate degrees at University of Michigan?
Yeah. Um, I'm going to go ahead and actually put in a link here. Hopefully, you might be able to save this one afterwards, but I'm going to put here the Rackham Graduate School of Studies. That usually administers most of our graduate level programs, whether that's for master's or the PhD level. So I also always encourage students to apply, to communicate directly with the school or college. Thing that I always note about Michigan is that um, being a big university, lots of different offices will have different specialties, and they're going to be more knowledgeable about like graduate level admissions. And so for the different specific programs that the students may be thinking of, you'll want to make sure to go directly for them. I also will note here too, I did see a question here specifically about cybersecurity. I'm not sure specifically about how cybersecurity is being touched upon in the graduate level. I know that undergraduate, we don't have a specific cybersecurity major. That being said, a, a lot of students who may want to go into cybersecurity, they may have other majors that are related, whether that's in computer science or computer engineering or data science. I will note again that if you're thinking about computer science at Michigan for undergrad, um, there is an advanced selection process. So that is something to keep in mind. The vast majority of our students who become CS majors are selected when they apply for their first year. Otherwise, many other majors they're not declared right away. And then for more specialty schools and colleges like in architecture and education, that's the major you'll be applying directly for.
All right. So, you mentioned, University of Michigan being, in terms of like limited financial aid opportunities available, especially to international students. But from your own perspective, or from your own with your own expertise, for students who may need some sort of financial aid or financial assistance, what advice do you have for them in terms of, presenting a strong and realistic like funding plan, or coming up with a strong and realistic funding plan?
Yes. In general, whenever we communicate with our students, we always encourage them to make sure that they're working on um, using different search sources or going to um, different different websites that have postings to different scholarships. I notice too, even domestically here in the United States, I know it's that oftentimes, and I noticed from my own experience too, when I applied to undergraduate studies here in the United States, that um, it's like its own kind of job trying to look for different scholarships and different aid, but it is something that is doable. I just, of course, would caution students that uh, you know there are some websites that might give inaccurate information, or for example, maybe there's a website that might say we have a scholarship, but it's not an official Michigan website. So keep an eye on the web address. Any official websites that are of Michigan are umich.edu. But if there are any other sites that show information that are not from that site, that they may not be so accurate. So just and I've heard from other students in the past that they may have found something, but it is not a real one. Just be mindful of that as you're going through the internet. And lately, I've even been told already, people are already asking, different AI chat bots about that question too. Um, as we know, they're not always going to be that accurate because of the way the technology works. So make sure that, even if you do consult those, make sure that also go further research, look them up, and make sure to trust but verify that information. So just be mindful of that as you're navigating it online. Um, I also always say, and this is actually a shout out to you all at Education USA, if you are thinking about how to looking for resources, especially for whether it's looking for other institutions or that may provide aid, or whether it's knowing where other aid is possible, right, from other organizations, going to Education USA, as you are right now, that's a great resource for you to use. And that's something we often recommend to our students who may not have been in touch with you before.
Okay. I have a question here from Bridget, not for you, but I think, Bridget, you might need to attend our Education USA info session that we have on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Send an email to abujaeducationusa@state.gov so that you can get details on how to participate in that info session if you're asking general questions about how to study medicine as an international student in the US. So it's not a
Mhm.
straightforward process. It's as a marathon.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you would need to get a lot more information about the different steps that are involved to become a medical doctor in the US. All right, so I know we're
Yeah.
out of time, but I have two parts of the same question, sort of. What is one common mistake or the most common mistake that you see international students make? And then what advice do you have to students who are thinking about applying to University of Michigan?
All right. So the first part of that question, a common mistake I've seen would be when students fill out the activities list in the common application, they might list that they have none. And I think, wait a second, actually, because that's actually, I know for a fact that students, even if they might not think so, they are involved in something. I know it's different with the U.S. admissions process that we look for these things, but when we think about it, right, maybe you are involved volunteering with something at your school. Maybe it's something informal. Maybe you're informally mentoring a student who's younger than you, or maybe you are um, uh, maybe you're working, maybe you have significant responsibilities at home where you're taking care of your siblings. However, you're spending your time, you should feel free to share and detail that with us and share what that impact looks like, how you're showing leadership. That there's so many different ways to do it just beyond like being involved in a formal club or organization, right? Though so many things can count, and I encourage you to make sure that you know you make sure that you're sharing that because we know for a fact that you're involved and you're connected with other people, and we do want to make sure we're getting the best picture as possible. Um, I know in some cases when I read letters of recommendation, they might support some other adults in your life might support that for you, but we'd definitely love to hear that directly from you to know that how you are involved in things beyond the classroom. Again, it doesn't have to be like you're doing something big and great. We just want to see like, how do you make the most of your time when you're not in class? Then the second part of your question about my big bit of advice. Um, don't go through any of this alone. Um, Whenever it comes to like going through an application, feel free to ask for help, whether it's like having someone else you trust look over what you've written on the application for you, and make sure that you've got all the information there correctly, or that it sounds like you. I know when I say this personally, when I applied to college when I was younger, I I actually had other people look at my essays, and not like teachers. I even had friends look at them, and in fact, this was younger when everyone used to use Facebook more often. Uh, I know it's more WhatsApp world now, but when I was younger, I remember getting help on Facebook groups, having people look at my essay or looking at other people's essays and giving each other feedback. And I think it's yeah, you don't have to go through this alone, and especially reach out to, if you want the most accurate and up-to-date information about what we're looking for and how to apply, reach out directly to institutions like us, and that's what we're here for. We want to make sure that you're informed going through the process, and that right, you don't go through this alone, because we know there's a lot going on, there's a lot of things that can happen, but you we are here to support our sports students through the process.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Gaston. And if you could just share how people can reach out to you again after today, and if you have like can students sign up for like maybe some other virtual info sessions that maybe they want to continue the conversation with you after today.
Yeah, actually, I'm just gonna leave my chat with everyone here. Here's my email address. You can reach out to me directly from there. Um, I also am going to put down here our virtual resources. So if students would like to see more information like this, view this information and the same information I shared here earlier, um, or view campus from the comfort of your laptop or your computer or desktop, you can view different ways to see campus virtually and just other ways to contact us too. One thing I'll note too is that we also have a virtual Q&A. So after, if you want to speak with us and the current student, we have virtual Q&As where we go on Zoom, and after students attended our information sessions, including this one, you can then reach out to us for more questions and learn more about the process from us directly.
Excellent. Thank you so much for all that information. And thank you to everyone who attended today's session. Please do well to follow University of Michigan on social media, visit the resources that have been shared in the chat. And you have Gaston's email address, agastillo@umich.edu for more information. So thank you so much for your time. And I know it's the beginning of the day for you, but it's sort of the end of the day for us. So enjoy the rest of your day.
And you as well. And as we say here in Ann Arbor, go blue.
Go blue. All right, bye.
Bye-bye.